Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Monday, November 3rd, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. It is Election Day Eve, and early voting has ended yesterday, and more than 735,000 New Yorkers have cast ballots. If you are not among that number and you haven't voted yet, the polls will be open tomorrow starting at 6 a.m. and remain open until 9 p.m. Plenty of time to vote. The three leading candidates, Democrat Zohran Mamdani, Republican Curtis Sliwa, and independent candidate Andrew Cuomo, were out crisscrossing the boroughs today, making their final pitch to voters. Our political reporters have been out following these candidates all day, and we've got team coverage for you this evening. We're going to start in Long Island City tonight, where Zohran Mamdani is with canvassers. Bobby Yakuza is there on the scene. Good evening, Bobby.
Hey, good evening, Errol. And there was a number of canvassers here early. They have fanned out across the neighborhood here in Western Queens, Astoria neighborhood. Mamdani was here earlier giving a pep talk and addressing some of the reporters here. It has been a whirlwind few days. The whole campaign has been a whirlwind. But just yesterday, I spent part of the day with Mamdani. He was at a church in Harlem. He was taking pictures and addressing some of the crowd at the marathon. He was watching football with Kathy Hochul in Astoria, and then he ended the night at the Knicks game. And then this morning was back up before dawn. He went down and walked across the Brooklyn Bridge early this morning alongside some supporters, including some elected officials, including State Attorney General Letitia James, and then gave a talk to reporters that was pretty heavy on symbolism, but he is really hammering home the message that he has all along about fighting the affordability crisis here in New York City. And he's also been hammering at Andrew Cuomo, who just tonight got a statement of support from President Donald Trump on Truth Social. There's also a post on X tonight from Elon Musk expressing his support for Andrew Cuomo. And so Mamdani took advantage of that to hit at Cuomo in his remarks to reporters here tonight.
The reason that the President of the United States of America, the reason that one of the wealthiest men in the world are both trying to get involved at the last minute is that they know we will accomplish everything we have run on. That is what they fear. They fear the power of an example that can show that it need not be this hard to call this city home. It need not be this hard to afford to live in these 5 boroughs. And I thank you because you are on the verge of sharing that example with the world.
And in that same social media post tonight, President Trump again suggested that he would withhold funding from New York City if Mamdani is elected. So Mamdani again was asked about that. He said just because Donald Trump says something doesn't mean it's legal. He said New York City is owed federal dollars and they will fight back. A Mamdani administration will fight back against Trump if Trump seeks to withhold some of that money. So Mamdani giving his closing arguments today. He will be voting in person tomorrow. He chose not to vote early, but this is really the tail end of the campaign, and it has been quite a scene here, Errol, seeing the amount of media attention that has descended on some of these Mamdani events. The number of international media showing up here is really just created sort of a mob scene. Quite a difference from when this campaign started a year ago in October of last year, and there was very little interest in Zohran Mamdani, the candidate.
So, Bobby, while he gave this pep talk to his followers, what were they going to do afterwards? Are they out canvassing tonight?
Yeah, they're out canvassing. They're knocking on doors. You know, the Mamdani campaign says that they have had more than 100,000 volunteers during this general election campaign, knocking on doors, giving out literature. So he's, giving instructions to some of those volunteers, what to do, what to say. And he talks about the fact that as hard as it may be to believe for those of us who follow this stuff closely, there are people who aren't following this race, who don't know about Zohran Mamdani. And so those are the people he's trying to reach in these final hours as he tries to turn out the vote.
Okay. Thanks very much, Bobby. We're going to head over now to Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, where Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa is holding a rally of his own this evening. That's where we find our Kelly Mena. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. And that rally happening right behind me right now. Curtis Sliwa continues to meet with his supporters, those backing his bid, his candidacy in this mayoral race. He's addressing his supporters right now, talking about all of his plans that he has if he were to make it into Gracie Mansion. Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee, has chosen to stay in this race despite the criticism and rumors and pressure campaign asking him to drop out of the race. Even President Donald Trump has not been so excited to have a fellow Republican in the race when it comes to this competitive general election. We asked Curtis Sliwa earlier about his thoughts about possibly being a spoiler candidate, and this is what he said.
There are no spoilers. The mistake that Democrats made was going with the political zombie, Andrew Cuomo, who failed them before. I think they're masochists, Democrats, because they keep going back to the same tried and true failures. Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo. That's why there's a Zohran Mamdani. They have only themselves to blame because they haven't developed new moderate Democrats in their party to take on the socialists who now control their party.
And Curtis Sliwa vowed to stay in this race until the end, and he's doing just that. This is just one of many stops he's had today. Earlier today, I was with him at Coney Island Avenue stop on the train. There, he was honoring the lives and victims of subway violence, including the woman who was burned to death nearly a year ago, Debrina Cuomo. Later tonight at 10 p.m., he'll also be at another subway stop in Manhattan, again, to prioritize what has really become the main part of his campaign, subway and subway safety, Errol.
So now, Kelly, the crowd behind you there, we can hear them getting the word from the candidate. What are they going to be doing? Are they going to hit the streets? Are they going to be knocking on doors? Are they going to stay with him, go into the subways? What's the plan?
A little bit of everything, Errol, really. At this point, there really is no wrong answer. We're going into Election Day. This is the time to energize the base and get anybody who's not aware of Curtis Sliwa's candidacy or that he's still in this race and the person to win out there. There's canvassers here. There's people that will follow him onto the subway. These same people will probably wake up early tomorrow and continue those same activities. Curtis Sliwa is kind of considered the dark horse or spoiler, depending on how you look at it in this race, and he is going to need every single vote if he has any chance in this election cycle here.
Okay, so now Bay Ridge, at least part of it, is what I guess I would consider Curtis Sliwa country. Republicans have done well there over the years. Is this where one of his 8 campaign headquarters are located?
Yes, there is. Yes, right behind me is his campaign headquarters. There were volunteers there earlier. They have a lot of excitement. There are a lot of people here just walking on the street, talk about Curtis Sliwa, how proud they are to be Republicans, how they are proud that he stayed in this race. He did not choose to drop out of the race, and that they continue to support his candidacy. You can hear behind me some blowhorns. There were some cars honking earlier. Even a fire truck was honking. So this is definitely Curtis Sliwa country. If there's anywhere for him to have a base, it's right here in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, Errol.
All right. Thanks very much, Kelly. Meanwhile, the third candidate, Andrew Cuomo, also had a busy day on the campaign trail. He embarked on a 5-borough tour this morning, starting in Manhattan, where he greeted senior voters, and then he made his way down to Staten Island to shake hands at a pizza parlor. The former governor also weighed in on President Trump backing him over the weekend. Our Ayanna Harry has been following Cuomo all day and joins us now with the latest. Good evening, Ayanna.
Good evening, Errol. For Andrew Cuomo, the sprint to Election Day went through all 5 boroughs today. And Andrew Cuomo tried to stay on message as he connected with voters. He tried to talk about his plans for public safety as well as his leadership experience. But Andrew Cuomo faced question after question throughout the day about his relationship with President Donald Trump. As you just heard Bobby mention, President Trump weighed in on the race for mayor again this evening for the second time in 24 hours. Let's take a look at that Truth Social post from Andrew Cuomo, from President Trump. He wrote, "Whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mamdani is not." So this is from President Donald Trump just a short time ago, him weighing in on the race. And also on a 60 Minutes episode that aired Sunday, Trump called Andrew Cuomo a bad Democrat and then went on to voice some support for Andrew Cuomo. And Zohran Mamdani was quick to weigh in and interpret all of President Trump's actions and recent statements as an endorsement for Andrew Cuomo. But while taking questions from reporters throughout the day, whether it was here in Washington Heights or in Lower Manhattan, Andrew Cuomo pushed back hard on the suggestion that he's actually been endorsed by Donald Trump.
Mamdani lies. He fabricates, he dissembles. He has a problem with the truth. I say when Mamdani is smiling, he's lying. Trump did not endorse me. I said repeatedly I would not accept Donald Trump's endorsement. He said, I'd rather a bad Democrat than a communist. Basically what President Trump was saying is he'd rather anything than a communist.
And it has now been 247 days since Andrew Cuomo launched his attempt at a political comeback. And he's hoping to win this race by putting together a diverse coalition. Andrew Cuomo is a Democrat who's running as an independent, and he's also made a direct pitch to Republican voters. Today, Andrew Cuomo said his winning strategy is simple: go after every vote. He shook hands at the Chinatown Senior Center. There he is right now. He also campaigned in Washington Heights and spoke with voters on Staten Island's Victory Boulevard. And Cuomo said he is feeling optimistic despite the recent polls.
When you have a turnout this high, none of the polls matter because you have to project turnout. And this is a turnout that nobody has seen before.
And you just saw Andrew Cuomo standing with both of his daughters on his side. I also want to note Andrew Cuomo chose not to vote early, so he will be voting on Election Day, Errol.
Oh, very interesting. And what is their theory? I mean, we saw sort of what Curtis Sliwa is planning to do. We saw what Mamdani is doing as far as the door knocking. What's their plan for how to get their vote out in the next 24 hours?
So right now, Andrew Cuomo is actually in closed-door meetings with different organizations throughout New York City. So that's how he's spending his evening. We have noticed and spoken about here that Andrew Cuomo doesn't have as robust of a get-out-the-vote operation as Zohran Mamdani or Curtis Sliwa. So it's unclear if there are going to be teams of Cuomo volunteers spreading out throughout the city. I did see a few volunteers at the Chinatown Senior Center event today, which is sort of the first time that I've seen that many volunteers. But even as they were there, they had questions as to where do you need us to go? What should we be doing? So it's unclear whether or not there's really the infrastructure in place within the Cuomo campaign to really get those volunteers out. And it would be really pretty much last minute at this point.
Right. In some of the early returns, it seemed like older voters, at least in parts of the city, seemed to be coming out in good numbers. And I heard from some of the members of the Cuomo team that they think that that's a good scenario for them.
They do think it's a good scenario for them, but then we got the early voting numbers in from this weekend and saw an uptick from voters under 35. I saw on social media you posted about walking by a line filled with people and sounded like they all looked pretty young.
At least 100. None of them were under 40.
Yeah.
I mean, over 40.
Yeah, so it seemed like perhaps the younger voters decided they were going to wait till the weekend, get through Halloween, and then go out and vote, perhaps. So it's really difficult to gauge what the turnout will ultimately be like, but 735,000 people voting early is certainly significant.
Okay, we'll start to get the answers 26 hours from now. Thanks very much, Ayanna. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we saw a record turnout for early voting. More than 700,000 New Yorkers casting their ballots before Election Day. We're going to break down some of that data in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test?
Sure, why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You've done at the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. As we have been reporting, there was record turnout during the early voting period. Here's what the numbers look like. In Brooklyn and Manhattan, more than 200,000 New Yorkers cast ballots. Staten Island and the Bronx followed with just over 50,000 votes each. But those numbers are not the only ones that we're taking a look at. Here to break down who came out and who came out to vote early ahead of Election Day, we've got investigative reporter Courtney Gross. Good evening, Courtney.
Good evening, Errol. This was historic turnout. In fact, the number of people that turned out to vote early in the 9 days of early voting this time around was actually 4 times the number that had turned out in 2021, which was the first time we had early voting in a mayoral contest. Like Errol said, about 735,000 people turned out to vote over the 9 days of early voting. Let's take a look at where they were. First, let's pull up the map of the 5 assembly districts with the highest turnout. And if you add this all together, this will actually comprise 17% of the total early vote. Where is this? Upper East Side, Upper West Side, downtown Brooklyn, Park Slope. You can slice and dice these numbers a million different ways, but what's interesting here is the Upper East Side and Upper West Side were pro-Cuomo in the primary, and then those parts of Brooklyn that you see there, they were pro-Mamdani. So you could say that maybe these numbers could go either way for either one of these candidates here. As for the lowest performing or the assembly districts with the least number of people who turned out during early voting, well, those were all in the Bronx. Also, we should note these are districts where Andrew Cuomo did really well in the primary, so this may not be great news for him. Over the course of early voting, we've been talking a lot about age, the demographics of the people who are turning out to vote. Of course, we crunched the numbers over these 9 days to get the final tally of who turned out to vote early. We have found that 44% of the 735,000 or so people who turned out to vote early, they were over the age of 55. Now, the polls that we saw over the course of this general election, older voters were skewing Andrew Cuomo. We've been talking about this a lot. Younger voters were for Zohran Mamdani, older voters were Andrew Cuomo. You can see here, over the course of the first part of early voting, we were talking about how 52%, a majority of the people turning out to vote were over the age of 55. So you could see that rush of early voters that Errol and Ayana were talking about just before did start to bring down that number of older voters. So 35% of people were under the age of 40, 16% were under the age of 30. If you compare that to early voting during the primary, about 40% of the people were under the age of 40. So not as good of numbers for Zohran Mamdani this time around, but check out the bottom number there. 150,000 people voted early who had never voted in a mayoral contest before. These were people who registered to vote after the 2021 contest. So this is the number that people at the Zohran campaign, the Mamdani campaign are paying attention to, that they energized potentially a lot of voters to come out and register for the first time. As for the party breakdown, no surprise here. We have a very big Democratic enrollment advantage here in the 5 boroughs. 3/4 of the people that turned out to vote early were registered Democrats. And Errol, Independents and Republicans basically split the difference.
Wow. So if 3/4 were Democrats, that's even overperformance, because there are a lot of Democrats here, but it's not 75%.
Yeah, 6-1 is the voter enrollment advantage. It used to be actually 8-1 a couple of years ago, and more people have registered over the last number of years, whether that's the Trump effect or something else, as independents, or what we like to call actually blanks in New York City, unaffiliated people. So Democrats, it'll be interesting to see if they just vote down the line. Are they going to vote for Zohran Mamdani because they support him, or are they going to vote for Andrew Cuomo?
That 150,000, these new voters, that's really quite a number. Now, there are a number of people who are just voting for the first time because they just hit 18, like my son, for example, in the last 4 years. But there are a lot of others who responded because, as far as I know, the Mamdani campaign was the only one that in a systematic way went out to try and register lots and lots of voters.
Absolutely. When I was out in front of a mosque with him a couple of weeks ago, it was very close to the voter registration deadline, which because of state law has actually been pushed closer to when the general election actually is. He had a team of people outside of a mosque in the Bronx, perhaps a group of voters that hasn't really been paid attention to very often before, registering people to vote just a day before the deadline. So if they were doing that en masse across the city in front of mosques or supermarkets or subway stations, we know that the Mamdani advantage here is the get out the vote operation and his organizing operation. I mean, he has experience doing this, and if they're out there knocking on doors and registering people to vote, perhaps they'll have an advantage.
Yeah, always worth pointing out that he personally did this for other people's campaigns. He really knows how this is done. Yeah. Thanks very much, Courtney. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, outside of the 5 boroughs, there are a number of other races for mayor that we are tracking from Buffalo to Albany. We're going to bring you from Upstate in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters on your smart TV and connected devices. Streaming live 24/7, plus on-demand weather forecast to help you stay prepared. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News, free with your Spectrum subscription, exclusively for Spectrum customers, now available on your favorite devices.
It's only a game. It's only a little rivalry. It's only a ritual.
When I come home late,
and a few generations.
you're always there.
And only Spectrum TV includes all your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. It's only a game. It's only everything.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first, stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. While the focus here in New York City has been on the race for mayor, it's not the only city in the state where a new mayor will soon take office. The upstate cities of Syracuse, Albany, and Buffalo have mayors that will be elected tomorrow. There'll be new mayors because there's no incumbent running. In Rochester, there's a Republican facing an incumbent mayor, Malik Evans. Joining me now to talk more about the situation upstate is our upstate political anchor, Susan Arbetter. Welcome back to the program and happy election Eve.
Great to see you. Thank you. You too.
So Susan, tell us about these new mayors. Is this term limits that has caused these openings, or is there some other cause?
Well, I think term limits in some cities, and in other cities, just incumbents deciding that they've had enough. Here in Albany, Mayor Kathy Sheehan served 3 terms, and she said, I'm done. I don't want to serve anymore. We're known for mayors serving very lengthy terms. Erastus Corning served 42 years in Albany, Errol. Byron Brown, who is the former mayor of Buffalo, who resigned that office to work for the head up the Regional Off-Track Betting Association. He was mayor for 20 years in Buffalo. So they've had the same guy sitting at the head office for 20 years. People like the job of mayor until they don't.
So tell us about some of these new mayors that we can expect after tomorrow.
Yeah, so let's start all the way over the I-90 corridor to the west in Buffalo. This is where Mayor Byron Brown did serve for 20 years. He left the city in a sort of very precarious financial situation by not raising property taxes in a really long time. So we have Sean Ryan, who won the Democratic primary, and this is a city that has a Democratic enrollment advantage of 6-1, okay? So Sean Ryan is a state senator. He had a tough primary against the head of the city council, Chris Scanlon, who is also the acting mayor, because Byron Brown left the job of mayor about 1.5 years ago. So Sean Ryan has the D under his name. Then we have James Gardner, who is a Republican, and then Michael Gaynor, who is an independent who's sort of running a bootstraps campaign on gumption but no money. Interestingly, James Gardner, who is the Republican, has spent $400,000 on this race, even though there hasn't been a Republican elected mayor in Buffalo in 60 years. Should I keep going up the thruway?
Yeah, sure. Let's head east.
All right, we're going to head east to Rochester. As you mentioned, Malik Evans is the incumbent. He is facing a challenger in Louis Sabo. Sabo is a conservative. He does not have the Republican line, Errol, because he couldn't muster enough signatures. He has admitted to Spectrum News 1 that he just, it's an uphill battle. Malik Evans is pretty much coasting to victory in Rochester. If we keep moving, slogging along I-90 east to Syracuse, we come to what I think is the most interesting race. It's Ben Walsh. He was term limited, and his deputy for the past 8 years has been Sharon Owens. She's a Democrat, and she is facing 3 pretty strong challengers. Republican Thomas Babylon, who worked as a legal aid attorney. He was an attorney within the city corporation council. Alfonso David is a longtime city activist, and he's run for mayor multiple times. And Tim Rudd used to work in the budget office there. Sharon Owens, if she wins, she'll be the first Black woman to lead the Salt City ever. So that could be a real history-making moment. Same thing is happening in Albany. Kathy Sheehan is opting not to run for re-election, as I mentioned. And Dorsey Aplears, who is the city auditor for Albany, is the Democratic nominee. She is running against a self-funded Republican, Rocco Pizzullo. If Dorsey Aplears wins, she also will be the first Black woman to lead the capital city.
Very interesting. So now with these upstate cities, you and I have talked in the past about the difficult economy up there and some of the challenges that they have, in part because there's a lot of state property and they don't pay taxes. So they're kind of underfunded and overburdened in a lot of ways. We're heading into a pretty tough budget season. How does their upstate governor, or I should say Kathy Hochul, who hails from upstate, How does she plan to deal with that?
Well, I think she already dealt with Albany, at least in her mind. I think that she would think that, because she has given the capital city of New York $400 million. This is this past year, she gave $400 million to the city, which she is helping to distribute. It's not like she's giving the city a $400 million check and saying, go spend. So $200 million is for downtown revitalization and to basically make up for exactly what you just said, Errol, which is there's an enormous amount of land, of property that isn't taxed because it's owned by the state, not for profit. So that is really coming as a boon to Albany. So the next mayor is going to get to basically decide how they're going to spend this money, which is for downtown revitalization, as I mentioned, also bolstering the number of police on the force, because it's a very underpopulated police force, and dealing with mental health issues and homelessness, and the State Museum, which has been a little lackluster lately.
Okay, very good. And then finally, Susan, when we look at a list of the poorest cities in the country, it's pretty routine that several of the upstate New York cities end up on the list. It's something that we don't really focus on a lot down here in New York City. We got our own problems, but it sounds like these new mayors are really heading into a really tough job.
You know, Errol, I mean, that's an understatement. When you look nationally at some of the numbers regarding child poverty, Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, they are all on the top of the list nationally. This is a perennial issue for those three cities, and all of the mayors that are elected are going to have to deal with that. In Syracuse, you're going to have a mayor who's dealing with a couple of other things, too, including the new Micron, and the I-81 viaduct is coming down. And in Buffalo, they have a $70 million deficit, even though they had a financial control board. Just they hadn't raised property taxes in so long that the money just isn't there, and the city is really in big trouble. Whoever wins that mayor race in Buffalo is going to have their work cut out for them.
Okay, and I know you'll keep us up to date on all of that. Thanks
Absolutely.
so much, Susan Arbetter.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a short break now. When we come back, I'll turn back to the race for mayor with two top consultants. Stay with us.
In Focus with Cheryl Wills, a weekly show discussing decisions and potential solutions for issues making an impact in your community and your city. If it's important to New Yorkers, then it's being talked about here. In Focus with Cheryl Wills, Sunday mornings at 10:30 on New York One.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network, and factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are keeping our focus on the race for mayor. On the eve of Election Day, the three candidates fanned out all around the city, making their final campaign stops trying to win over undecided voters.
More than 735,000 New Yorkers have already voted, and countless more will decide tomorrow what kind of leadership they want to define the next 4 years.
I just ask that everybody out there who can vote, do vote, whether you vote for me or any of my adversaries, because that's democracy. That's what we should be promoting.
Everybody has to vote. Everybody has to vote, because the future of the city of New York rides on this election.
Joining me now to talk about the contests are the members of this week's Consultants Corner. We have Democratic consultant Camille Rivera, and joining us is J.C. Polanco, a longtime political analyst and attorney who's also an assistant professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Aaron.
And look, this is a race in the end. The choice really is pretty stark, right? You've got either the oldest mayor in New York history or the second youngest ever. You've got somebody with decades of experience, or you've got somebody with much less experience. It really is kind of a choice for the voters.
Yeah, I mean, this is, in my mind, this is Zohran's world, and we're just living in it. I am so honored and excited by all the voters that have been coming out. I mean, I think it has been such an honor to see young voters, Black, Latino voters, aged voters from 40 plus, really want something fresh and new. And just being out there has been just such I don't think I've ever seen it in my lifetime, the amount of excitement. Just to feel everyone feels a part of that campaign, right? Everyone feels a part of it.
There's been a lot of analysis of these 735,000 votes, and it turns out I think 56% of them are younger voters, meaning under 50. And that's probably to the good for Mamdani. On the other hand, an equal or perhaps greater number will cast ballots tomorrow.
I didn't know being under 50 was younger. I feel good already. Thank you, Errol. No, I think it's exciting. Look, I don't know about it being Zohran's world and we're just living in it. Give me a break. But
whatever.
But I got to tell you, I'm so excited to see the energy.
Yes.
There are a lot of young people, a lot of older people coming out to vote. The whole world is talking about this mayoral election. And if you're not from New York City and you're watching this and you're watching us fight, this is how we do. The day after Election Day, we're going to come out together. We're going to become the best city ever. We're going to keep moving forward. But it's really exciting to see how many people are coming out to vote. One of the biggest problems I've had, even when I was at the Board of Elections, was how little turnout we have, remember? Can't complain about that right now. It seems like the whole world is coming out. It'd be incredible if we could get 1.8 million votes at the end of the day. That'll be amazing. So kudos to the candidates for fighting it hard, talking about the issues, and engaging New Yorkers and the world, and reminding them that we live in the best city on earth. And that's what we live in New York City, and this is where it's at, not Zohran's world.
I disagree. I think that Zohran is a generational candidate, right? And I think that he has excited so many different bases of support, and everyone feels a part of it. I know people on the street who don't work on the campaign, who don't volunteer on the campaign, and they feel like they're part of this campaign, because he has done such an amazing job of touching people where they are. And I think I absolutely disagree that you absolutely need these. I haven't seen this magic or this kind of energy since Obama, and I worked on that on a number of spaces close to that race, and that was something. And it's not even, I would say it's even different, right? Everybody learns it's different, but I don't remember feeling that energy.
There's the movement, there's the moment, there's the man, and they all kind of link up in this case where they all seem to be in sync. But I wanted to ask you about something you said that I'm not so sure about, which is, when the dust clears, are we all going to get together? I mean, I've seen a lot of headlines. There's a lot of headlines going around about what's going to happen when everybody tries to flee New York. And it's the kind of headlines, I've been in this business a long time, it's the kind of headline that is impervious to fact, right? The headline will be there whether people are leaving New York or not. That seems to be something that people are just locked into as a narrative.
Look, I think there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be upset if Assemblyman Mamdani does pull off the election because of the rhetoric behind Assemblyman Mamdani. To your point, Camille, I got to tell you that the same energy you see behind your candidate, I see for Andrew Cuomo, I see for Curtis Sliwa. The city is totally engaged, and I understand that you like. No, and that's great. So to think that this is all Zohran world, I think it's a little insane.
We'll see the numbers.
That's my analysis.
We'll see the numbers.
We've seen the numbers. That's my analysis. I'm going to push back on you.
I'm pushing back on you. That's
my
what we're
analysis, right? Like, that's how I feel. I don't know how everybody else feels.
And I see it, though, Camille. I see the energy that you're talking about. But I also see the energy coming out from other campaigns and other New Yorkers that are saying the same things about their candidates, which is why I think closely that we're going to get back together. Look, I know there are a lot of people that are going to leave. I'm sure that if you have the ability to leave, you will. And there's some of us here that don't have that ability. But I'll tell you this, New York, there's nothing like it. And I see us fighting all the time, and I see us coming back together as a family. And there's no way possible that a New York City election for mayor is going to put us in a position where we're not going to come back together the next day. I'm sorry, I don't see it that way. I see us disagreeing. I see if Assemblyman Mamdani pulls this off tomorrow, I'll be back here on Inside City Hall, and I'll be talking about the good things he does and the bad things he does. And that's how we do it.
I hope you're right about it. I mean, but like the level of death threats, the need for security that these candidates have had to sort of endure, the extreme rhetoric, when people say, you know, not that my candidate is wrong or we can do better than my opponent, but they say he's an existential threat to New York. He's going to destroy New York, things like that. People have a way of believing that, and it doesn't take a lot of people to believe that kind of extreme rhetoric for there to be a serious problem going forward.
Look, I think if you are, the one thing I will agree with JC, who did not give me the courtesy of agreeing with me, is the fact that that I think it is a big tent, and you've seen that, right? I think for Democrats, right? I think it's a unifying opportunity, right? And it's all up to us to bring in that big tent and to govern for New Yorkers. There is going to be the radicals. Like I have seen really just scary things happening but I have been in spaces where like I'm in a cab, right? And they all of a sudden are talking to me about Zohran Mamdani. And I'm just in a cab.
Sure. Okay. We've got more to talk about. We're going to take a short break. Then I'll be back in 2 minutes with these consultants. Stay with us.
The next downtown Local 6 train to Brooklyn Bridge City Hall will arrive in 2 minutes.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer.
I'm so honored to be a meteorologist here at New York One because as a Brooklyn kid, this is the station that I grew up watching. Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on. From severe weather updates to our weather on the ones. Watch the New York One weather experts on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where I'm once again joined by my Consultants Corner. We have Democratic consultant Camille Rivera, political consultant J.C. Polanco. I have a question for you, Camille. When we talk about a Big Ten and where Democrats go from here, it's very striking to me that the head of the state party, Jay Jacobs, did not endorse the Democratic nominee, Mamdani. The head of the Queens County organization, Congressman Gregory Meeks, never endorsed the person who's a sitting Democrat in his county. It's not going to necessarily be that easy for people to close ranks after all of this.
Look, I can't speak to their conversations about whether or not they endorse. I mean, as a political analyst, I've been doing this for a long time. Sooner or later, you got to govern, right? And there's going to be a lot of, we are dealing with an immense amount of problems. SNAP benefits, for example, are expiring. There's a big fight. I mean, they're already weaponizing. Trump is already weaponizing the use of SNAP and hunger. Like, this is just insane to me, right? And so, well, it's not insane, but it's like par for the course. And we're gonna have to really fight Trump. We've already seen it. We've seen examples of it in the city of New York. It is a scary time. And I think everyone feels like whatever position they take within the Democratic Party, whether it's moderate, progressive, understand that there is one not even a target, there's one offense, and that's protecting New Yorkers and this country. And my hope is that that comes together. These are races, things happen. People say things, they don't necessarily agree. My hope is that all of them come together and understand, as Democrats, that we have a serious problem. We have a democracy problem, and New York is going to be and is the biggest target right now. You can see it in Trump's rhetoric. You can see it in 60 Minutes when he talked. He has been very clear about what he will try to do.
Look, the truth is that you're going to have a civil war in the Democratic Party. And I say civil war because, it's true. You see the divide between the socialist wing and the more moderate wing, the establishment wing. We're seeing it play out right now. We see the establishment Democrats afraid for their lives and for their districts in purple districts across the country because New York City is about to elect a socialist who has a long encyclopedia of some of the most insane things on video. Now, wait a minute, Camille. Don't you look at me like we're about to fight.
I'm giving you the Puerto Rican side eye.
No, but I'm more my Puerto Rican side today. Listen to me. The truth is this. You have a guy who is the most inexperienced candidate to ever run to be CEO of New York City government. You could get mad about that all you want. That's a fact. Who was a backbench assembly member, has no preparation for this job. And you have the Democratic Socialists of America who have declared war on a lot of these incumbents. And now you expect the chair of the Queen's Democratic Party to just fall in line.
Let me ask you this. This is the talk of talk. No. This is the type of talking points that are talking points.
Let me ask you this. All of what we're talking about pre-election and who's with who and all of the endorsements, all of that expires tomorrow, right? Yes. When there's a mayor-elect. But there is going to be this question on the table about what happens going forward, right? So if what you described comes to pass, if whatever reason the city is not being governed well, there will be hell to pay, and there should be, right? I mean, there should be a complaint. But what if things don't go poorly? What if things go well?
What do you mean, as far as the mayoralty?
Let's give you. I mean, we've heard a lot about what can go wrong if the wrong candidate gets elected. What if things go right?
Wow.
What happens?
No,
yes.
wait
what
if
things go right?
I understand your question.
Why do we have to start from a negative
I understand your question, but the question that about the Mamdani candidacy is the one that you have to deal with. I'm talking about it's dangerous for purple district Democrats and purple state Democrats.
So
that's my point. It's not going to go well.
If there's a successful mayoralty under, say, a Mayor Mamdani, does that change, or are they still in danger? Do they still get voted out?
I think that they're still going to be in danger because you have an assembly member who not only is incredibly inexperienced, but who is on record talking about seizing the means of production, who's on record talking about defunding the police. That stuff is going to be in campaigns for the midterm. No, that's going to be on the ads.
But what happens? I mean, they'll put it in the ads whether it happens or not. But what happens?
They're going to do that no matter what. My point is, why are we punting for that? Why are we thinking about the fact that we can't, as the Democratic Party, right, figure out how to actually, what if something actually goes right? Why are we spewing negative talking points?
No, but it's not negative.
We have we can't, hindsight is 20/20.
Camille.
Right?
Camille,
so hindsight is 20/20.
Camille.
I'm speaking, stop mansplaining.
No, but I'm talking and everybody just cut me off.
You're mansplaining.
Let me put the question on the table and then each of you can answer it separately. 72 days from tomorrow, I think, is the count. 71, 72 days. We're going to have a new mayor. If that new mayor is Zohran Mamdani, or frankly, if it's Andrew Cuomo, and that person governs well, if, there's not blood and mayhem in the streets, if the economy is sort of bouncing back, if some of the programs, you can pick whichever ones you want, seem to be making progress in the direction of making the city more affordable, if the different polling and other ways of measuring public sentiment suggest that people are feeling okay about this, what will that mean for this whole question of, are Democrats going to be,
What it will mean is that we can exist in a space, right, where government can work together, that elections are elections, that democracy happens, and God forbid, I'm thinking that I want hope in New York City. And I want hope for this country. And imagine having an amazing opportunity for whoever becomes mayor of the city of New York. They're going to have to run a city. They're going to have to make sure the trains run on time. They're going to have to do, that is the crux of the work. And it's also about building a vision. And I take offense of everybody saying that the world is going to come to an end.
So we have only 1 minute left, but if things are going well, then what happens?
If things go well, that's wonderful for the city. I'm from the Bronx. I live here. Of course, I would love for that to happen. But the proof is in the pudding. We don't have the money for the things that the Assemblyman has been proposing. It just doesn't exist. So what if, what if, what if? The truth is that a lot of these things have been tried before and they failed. They're very simple slogans that have been used repeatedly in a campaign that when put in practice fail miserably. And we're very concerned about that. Those of us who live here are concerned. My larger point was that if we want to push back on this administration, we need purple district Democrats. And having a candidate like Assemblyman Mamdani with his long record and things he said hurts purple district Democrats. And not one seat has ever been picked up by the DSA. The DSA only attacks established Democrats. They do not grow majorities. So you have a Hakeem Jeffries, who wants to be speaker, who has to deal with the fact that New York City has just elected an inexperienced socialist to be mayor. That's going to have awful consequences for Democrats and for us independents who want to see this administration be held
one step at a time, because we're going to have the election tomorrow. We're going to have the transition. Somebody's going to be mayor. Maybe it'll be Mayor Sliwa, and he'll upend all of everybody's assumptions. And then we'll start digging into what this will all mean for the midterm. But for now, let's say goodnight. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.
We are going to take a break now. When we come back, we'll break down the borough president's races, where 4 incumbents are up for re-election. Those details are coming up in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 on Spectrum News New York 1. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
My name is Gail, and we are in my showroom for Florist Fire Design House. Getting Spectrum set up for my business was extremely smooth. They had it set up within an hour, and I was online and ready to go and run my business. Spectrum helps me stay online. You know, I have to be able to be online at 5 a.m. when the market's open. Without Spectrum, it wouldn't be possible.
Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Turner. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. In our final story tonight, we're going to turn away from the race for mayor to some of the other races on the ballot. New Yorkers at the ballot box will get a chance to choose their next borough president. Mostly those races feature long-shot challengers taking on popular incumbents. Our Bobby Kuza takes a closer look in this report.
Of the 4 borough presidents up for re-election, Antonio Reynoso of Brooklyn may face the most spirited challenge.
For almost 20 years, I've been practicing real estate.
in New York City.
Republican and Conservative Party candidate Janine Aquafreda is a political newcomer who says she was inspired to run in part by the city's ban on broker fees for apartment rentals. She notes that land use is one of the few areas where borough presidents have real power.
Everyone's screaming about the rent. The rent is too high. If anybody knows about housing, it's me. And that's one of the biggest parts of the borough presidency. It's something that I understand from the inside.
In Queens, another popular incumbent Democrat, Donovan Richards, is also facing a first-time candidate.
I am a Queens guy.
Republican Henry Ikezi is a home builder who, among other priorities, wants to create more paths to home ownership.
What this borough president, do-nothing Donovan Richards, has been doing is he's been causing a lot of development that has been actually fattening the pockets of real estate developers, not the folks that are struggling in Queens, not citizens.
Elsewhere, the Republican Party seems to have conceded defeat. In the Bronx, community activist Grace Marrero, who's also active in the Conservative Party, has run a bare-bones campaign, raising less than $1,000. And in Manhattan, where current borough president Mark Levine is vacating the seat as he runs for city controller, Republican Sesson Adams is on the ballot but has no online presence and no real campaign to speak of. The news outlet The City reported in 2022 that Manhattan prosecutors used the state's red flag law against him, which is designed to keep guns away from those considered at risk for violence.
The red flag law was an overreach.
Adams had earlier faced domestic violence charges and allegedly made threats against the city comptroller's office where he worked. A longtime Democrat who switched parties, later becoming a Republican delegate in 2024, he says he was targeted for political reasons.
Under that red flag law was an actual political ploy because it was trying to stop me from engaging voters because I was an actual electoral vote for the president.
Meanwhile, on Staten Island, Republican Vito Fossella faces a challenge from a Democratic newcomer.
I'm just a regular guy. I'm a dad. I'm a husband.
Michael Colombo, an insurance claims handler, says Fossella is banking on his name. Like other challengers from a minority party, he downplays party allegiance.
I'm not running to be a Democrat borough president. I'm not running to be a Republican borough president. I'm running to be a Staten Island borough president. And that means I'm going to fight for Staten Islanders against anyone. Republicans, Democrats, you name it.
Bobby Kuza, New York 1.
That's going to do it for tonight's show. Be sure to join us tomorrow night for all your election night coverage. We're going to be live starting at 7 p.m. with a special edition of Inside City Hall, followed by analysis from our experts and political reporters. And then at 9, we'll bring you the results live as we get them. Until then, thanks for watching and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You're done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
My name is Gail, and we are in my showroom for Florist Fire Design House. We are a full production wedding and event company that focuses on florals. Getting Spectrum set up for my business was extremely smooth. They were here the same day, had it set up within an hour, and I was online and ready to go and run my business. You know, I have to be able to be online at 5 a.m. when the market's open. And if I'm contacting a merchant via email or placing an order online, without Spectrum, it wouldn't be possible. Spectrum is reliable, they're committed, they're fast, and they really take care of me as a business owner. Last year, when the really bad hurricane came through, our internet stayed